Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today I thought I would do kind of a tutorial. Basically, when I'm making videos and I'm talking through my makeup, there's a few bits that I kind of skip over, but actually I thought I would make a dedicated video on my brows. So, hang on, get my fringe out of the way. I wanted to cut my fringe last night and I couldn't find my scissors, so this is annoying. Anyway, but yeah, I wanted to do like a dedicated no cuts video talking about my brows, and I think I might do one on my base in the future. Mainly because, you know, when you're filming videos and there's me rubbing in foundation or carving out my brows, you think it might not necessarily be the most interesting thing, but actually maybe that is something that you'd be interested in, or as a reference how I do my brows, what I get done to my brows. But yeah, so speaking of, before we crack on and I put anything in my brows, this is what my brows look like. I say naturally. I get my eyebrows waxed and tinted, and I get that done about every 6 to 8 weeks. So this colour here coming out my head is my natural hair colour, but it just, I don't know, it just like makes them stand out a little bit more, you know, when you've got those sort of white baby hairs. It just, I really like having my brows tinted because I think it makes them more pronounced but not overdone. And as I said, I get them waxed as well. The reason that I do that is basically one of my friends used to work in beauty therapy, and where she worked, it was Benefit actually, they wax brows, and so kind of every now and again she'll like do her friend's brows for a little bit of money. So she does my brows. I'm happy with her. I met her through her doing beauty therapy, so I'm very confident in her results. So in theory they're the Benefit way, although I don't go to Benefit to get my brows done. But I do still fill in my brows as well. So the product that I like to use is brow powder. The one that I'm using at the moment is by Anastasia Beverly Hills. This is the second one I've gone through, and then I also use brow gel as well. The reason that I like powder over pencil is because I found with pencils, they can just be almost not too precise. They just make everything look a little bit more angular and a little bit more blocky. I'm just not crazy on the pencil. I think powder's a lot more softer, and kind of the same reason why I don't use a pomade as well. Again, that's just very much more. But yeah, so this is all my natural hair. I'm sure everybody has a fun little brow story. For me, when I was growing up, I plucked my eyebrows when I was like 12 to about here, and then I didn't touch them again until I was 18, which led to brows that looked like this. And then obviously brows became such a thing, so then they look like this. So we've had a bit of a journey together, admittedly not as terrible as some people's might be, but yeah, anyway, so I thought I'd show you how I fill them in. So I'm gonna zoom you in a little bit. Perfect. So again, here's a little zoom in of my brows just naturally. I got my brows waxed and tinted about 3 weeks ago, and I usually wait 6 to 8 weeks in between treatments. In between that time, I will sort of pluck the hairs in between. What's really interesting about getting them waxed is, I'd imagine it probably is the same with threading as well, is because obviously you're having all that hair pulled out at the same time, for a while you kind of get like the odd hair every now and again, but then like in 1 week you'll just be like, and they all come back. So that's why I'm always like, please can you fit me in and do my brows for me? Because yeah, all of a sudden they'll just explode. But I did, as I said, I got them done about 3 weeks ago, and I did, before I started filming, clear up a little bit under here, but this is what they look like. So as you can see with this brow, it sort of thins out a little bit more here, and then this is a little bit thin. And what's really annoying is I did used to always pluck like these like sticky up bits, I think on both of them, although did I only have them on one? Anyway, so, you know, sisters not twins, but again, it thins out a little bit here as well. So I'm gonna start with brow powder. As I mentioned, it was ABH, and I'm using the colour medium brown. And then also I do want to talk about the brow brush that I use to apply it. And I know I've put this in a favourites video before because I think it is phenomenal. This is by Zoeva, and it is their 322 brow line brush. And it looks a little something like this. So as you can see, it's quite long, sort of, how do I describe this? The hairs are quite short, but the brush itself is quite long, and I find that this gives it just like a nice amount of control with the product, and it is quite thin, and sort of the hairs themselves are really thin. I just think this is like a nice medium of sort of, yeah, it's just that I feel like it's less fluffy, so you have more control over applying the product, and I really do like this brush. I think it's, out of all the brushes that I've used, it's my favourite. So what I like to do is I don't start sort of at the front. I will usually draw a line sort of from about 1 centimetre in up, and then do that at the top as well, just to sort of create that initial shape, and then I'll sort of carve out the end. And then what I like to do with the product is initially I'll take the brush, have the sort of tip end in the lighter shade and the darker end, the shorter end in the darker side, and sort of brush the product in like so. Tap off the excess, and I'm going to start from the underneath. Yeah, you can see. I'm going to start from the underneath and sort of drag that along. I'm going to dip back in. And yeah, from about here, and then draw that here. And then I'll just sort of run the product, sort of kind of colour it in almost. There's effectively what we're doing. Just so, there we go. So then we're left with a sort of shape like that. And then I will dip the brush back into the product and go into the lighter side, flip the brush vertically and run it through that front section, because most people's brows, including mine, are sparser there. So to avoid sort of that blocky brow, you want it to be a little bit more softer through the end. But yeah, so when I've got the brow product in, that's what we're left with. So hang on, if I show you both of those. So already it's sort of definitely defined, sort of the edge here, definitely sort of like the outer half is a little bit more pronounced. I might put a little bit more product here. And yeah, it's just got a little bit more definition. I don't like my brows to be too strong, but I do like to fill them in again, because like you can see the colour of my hair. Like I think sort of if you have a lighter hair colour than mine, it's maybe not as important, but I don't know, just for me I feel like it, and also because I have a fringe, it just really helps to frame the face. But yeah, so I'm going to do the same on the other side, which is take the brush, rub it into both of the colours, start at the bottom. If you're wondering what I'm looking at, I've got a mirror to the side so I can see what I'm doing. And then dip in again, same thing along the top, like that, and then fill it in. And then dip into the lighter colour, flip vertically, and sort of brush it back and forward. Again, I find with the front of the brow, yeah, I don't want that sort of blocky look, so I find sort of just like fluffing the product through allows it to sort of have a bit more of a, yeah, sort of fluffier look. Anyway, so I'm done with brow powder, but I'm now going to move on to brow gel. So I think I mentioned it in my last makeup uniform. I do backcomb my brows, which I used to backcomb my hair too, as you have probably seen in those photos. So I'm no stranger to it. And what I usually use, full transparency, is I use the Glossier brow gel, but this one is dead. So I keep this in my makeup bag. There's no, well, if there's any product on, there's very little. But I like keeping this in my makeup bag just because it's kind of all contained and sanitary. But you could definitely use like a spoolie or anything that you sort of have on hand for this technique. But I'm going to use this because this is what I use every day. And backcombing your brows is exactly like backcombing your hair, kind of. But yeah, so I take a spoolie that has no product on. I start at the tip of the brow and comb it in the opposite direction of which the hair grows. So there's a couple reasons why I do this. The first one is because, again, even though I'm using powder, which I would argue is the, oh, I should have done one separate. Anyway, this is what they look like backcombed. I'm not going to leave them like that though. But yeah, one of the reasons why I backcomb my brows is because even though I use powder, which I think is one of the most sort of softest brow products, it still helps to just blend it a little bit more and sort of make it a little bit more softer, so it's not such a defined line, because, you know, as you saw my brows before, they're not that naturally defined. I also find, like, I'm lucky that I have quite a lot of brow hairs, like my hair's quite coarse and stuff, but again, it just sort of makes the hairs themselves more pronounced as opposed to the product that I've put in them. Yeah, and it just makes them look a little bit more like the hairs are like, here I am, rock me like a hurricane. Anyway, so moving on to the actual brow gel. So again, I promise you these are two different things that I'm using. This is a brow gel that has brow gel in. This is by Glossier, it's their Boy Brow, and I use the colour brown. I really like this brow gel, but another one that I really like is the Ico Brow Gel, although I believe that only comes in one colour. So yeah, I don't know if you'll be able to tell that this definitely has product on. And again, similarly to the powder, I start about a centimetre in of the brow, because if I started at the front, this is when the spoolie's got the most product on it, so then you'll end up with a massive like glob of product, whereas I would rather work the product through the rest of the brow where there's, you know, more colour usually anyway, and then take what's left and put it through the end of the brow, then have a massive splodge in the front of the brow anyway. So I'm going to start from here, and so you might be like, Alex, what's the point in backcombing them? It just like, and then sort of taming them back into place. I don't know, it does make a difference. It does make the hairs a little bit more 3D and a little bit more pronounced, but yeah, and then I'm gonna flip the spoolie a little bit and just do the same, like I'm only running it through lightly. And then taking the spoolie again, similar to the product, and then just, similar to the brush, sorry, and just flicking it up so these stand out a little bit more. But yeah, I wouldn't say that I do rock like the boy beat or anything. I think I'm sort of somewhere in between, but I think most people are sort of in between full beat and boy beat. Yeah, these brows work for me. You know, I usually wear eye makeup, and I do find that brows definitely frame eye makeup better. I truly believe that brows and mascara will hide a multitude of sins if you've like messed up with your eyeshadow. But yeah, so this is what they look like. I will sort of put the before and after in for you. So one step that I don't do all the time, but if I'm going all out, I will, is I would take a just eyeshadow brush, any old fluffy eyeshadow brush, and again, just fluff the front bit, just again to make sure that the blending is nice and cohesive. It doesn't make too much of a difference, but again, also if you ever get anything in your brows, like if you do your eyeshadow after, having like a clean or designated eyeshadow brush for that works really well. Obviously depending on what order you do your eyeshadow and your brows in. But yeah, that is the finished brow. That's how I do them. I mean, I've been talking through them obviously with you, but my brows only take me a couple of minutes, if that. And I find this is all fairly straightforward. So I hope that was helpful. Hang on, oh, wrong way. I'll keep my fringe out the way so you can see the work that I've put in. Oh, as I said, like I really wanted to cut my fringe so we could have some nice pictures, but it's super long and I can't find my scissors. And also it's Christmas as well. If you want to know what this is doing. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. If you'd like to see any videos like this, as I said, I'm thinking of doing like a base routine version of this, where I talk about like either foundation or tinted moisturizer, how I apply, all that stuff. Again, because that is something that I definitely skip over when I'm doing sort of full face looks on YouTube. So anyway, but yeah, if there's anything that you'd like me to talk through, or even I could do liner as well if you want me to talk through eyeliner, because I usually don't do that on camera because it needs all of my concentration. But yeah, I'd love to hear from you down below. If there's any videos you'd like to see from me, I'm always open to suggestions. Thank you so much for watching, and I shall see you soon. Bye!